11 palettes enter, 1 palette leaves.
Welcome to Thunderdome!
Again. Hello Champagne Dreamers, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, I don't know how you found me, but please stick around, hit that subscribe button, and join the family. My name is Janessa, and I am North Dakota's trash queen of glam, geek, and gore. And for today's video, we are once again taking a trip to the Makeup Thunderdome. And for this video, I'm going to be ranking 11 palettes from Nomad Cosmetics. So Nomad Cosmetics is an indie brand that I discovered fairly recently, within the last year or so, and I have picked up quite a few of their palettes and I'm really loving them. But I always have opinions, I always love ranking things. A bitch loves a countdown, so let's go ahead and rank the 11 palettes from Nomad Cosmetics that I have. Now, I don't have every single palette from their line. There are some other palettes that I don't have. There's some that I'm looking at. That Whistler Lodge is still kind of calling my name, but I don't have everything. So these are the 11 that I have. Some of them are still available, some of them are not. That's the way of the world. But if you want to see how I ranked my 11 Nomad palettes, then stick around, because we're getting into it right now. As I said, I have 11 palettes from Nomad Cosmetics, and I am super excited to get in and rank them. I love these Makeup Thunderdomes. I hope you love them as much as I do. I am always looking to judge things. Some people have different hobbies. Some people like macrame. Some people do cross-stitch. Some people sleep with their best friends' husbands and break up marriages. I happen to like judging things, people, and places. Basically, nouns, I guess. I'm excited to get back to the Thunderdome and talk about these palettes. Let's start with number 11. Number 11 in the Makeup Thunderdome from Nomad Cosmetics is the Hudson Valley palette. Now this is a beautiful palette. This is a really great fall color story. If you're a fall girly and you love reds and oranges and browns and those more kind of earthy tones, you will probably love this. It is really beautiful, but let's dive in and see why it's at the bottom of my list. So here you can see that this is just not this, right? This is a beautiful collection of orangey, yellow, red shades. We've only got 3 shimmers, so that absolutely works against it. I love a shimmer. I like it when palettes are half and half, but if they're going to be imbalanced, I would prefer that they were imbalanced, leaning towards more shimmers than more mattes. But there are 3 shimmers here in the middle, and then there are some greenish, cool tone neutral shades at the top. So you do get a little bit of warm options and a little bit of cool options up here. But then you have these 3 shimmers, and I feel like this green sort of works with these greens, but this is much more yellow, springy green, and these are much more cool toned, neutral, grungy kind of shimmers. And I don't use a lot of red, orange, yellow. That's not my favorite. And if I do, I like bright, vivid kind of primary colors. So these more muted, grungy, red, yellow, they're just not going to be my favorites. So this one is beautiful. I wish it had more shimmer, and it's in the number 11 spot. In the number 10 spot, there's been a murder. That was very Moira Road. There's been a murder on the Orient Express. This is the Orient Express palette. I hate this packaging. Can I say that? I know that Nomad is a wonderful indie brand, and I generally love them. Again, I feel like I always have to give this disclaimer anytime I do a Makeup Thunderdome. If I have enough palettes from a brand to do a Makeup Thunderdome, it means that I generally love that brand. It's just that there are going to be ones that I like more, and there's going to be reasons why. I wanted to get in and really talk about why this kind of velvety packaging, it's kind of like the old school days of ABH where things were in that flocked velvet packaging, because it just gets dirty so easily. And this is like puffy, and there was beautiful artwork on the box of this like Art Deco flapper girl, and I would have loved that on the palette. But this one, this blue velvet is my least favorite of all the packaging. Now in terms of colors, there are some beautiful colors here. The shimmers are really lovely. There are some beautiful mattes. Nomad, I never really have any complaints points against their performance, but this is just a little bit too muddled for me. And I don't know if muddled is even the right word. I feel like it's just a little bit all over the place. The way they've arranged it, it feels like confetti, where we just kind of threw a bunch of color in here, and the colors are beautiful, and colors go together and you can match them up and you can play, but it just feels less coherent. It just feels a little bit chaotic for me. And so I have a hard time looking at this and saying, this is the look I'm going to do. So we've got a green, and this has some green in it. And then there's browns we could bring in, or maybe blue. Like, I feel like my brain just can't focus on where it needs to go. So I know that that's a personal preference thing, but bitch, that's what we're doing here. This is my Thunderdome, and this is number 10. In the number 9 spot, the Fête de Provence. So this is me not speaking French very well, so just let me live. But this is a lovely color story. I do like this packaging, this yellow, red, purple, and I love that what you see on the outside really does carry into the inside. It's just a beautiful collection of pink, berry, into peach, into this yellow, into this kind of lavender, and then kind of this muted gray blue, very provincial sort of blue. I love it. This is beautiful. And there's some Herbes de Provence right there. That's the Champs de Lavande, which I think means lavender is the champion. So I think this is a really beautiful color story. I love these colors together. I love yellows. I think it's a little bit muted for what I love. Again, I am a Technicolor nightmare. I love bright, vivid, beautiful, like, pinks. And so these are gorgeous colors, but in terms of the makeup that I do, it's not the most useful. I do really love this. These are beautiful colors. These are beautiful shades, but it's just not my aesthetic. It's not something... And I shouldn't even say that. It's not that it's not. It's like, it's just dialed back a little bit. It's a little bit quieter than I am, clearly. But it is a beautiful palette, and I do love this. I've played with this a little bit. This is one of the newer additions to my collection, and so I really do love this. I think it's a lot of fun. Girls, I'm going to Harvard.
Like on vacay? Road trip?
In the number 8 spot, we have the America's Parks palette. This one I think has been discontinued, and it's kind of a shame because this one is a really pretty option. And I like this one because it starts to toe that line between the people who like a little bit more muted, a little bit more subtle colors, and then monsters like me who love a little bit more vibrancy. So here's the color story, and you can see it's basically kind of a rainbow palette. I mean, we don't really have a true red. Everything's a little bit off, a little bit pushed in a different direction. But we have the basics of a rainbow palette, and then we have some beautiful neutrals. We have lots of gorgeous shimmers. And then we have these shades down the middle. Now, I've played with all of these, and it's hard to see. We'll maybe try to do a zoom in on these. But these had like a zebra print. It was kind of a marbled shadow. And these shimmers are really, really lovely. And you get some interesting reflex of different colors. So I really do like this. I'm sad that they got rid of this. I'm not sure why. It's just a really good option of a kind of simple, scaled down, not as bright in your face, not just a box of crayons rainbow palette. So for people who want a rainbow palette that's not a rainbow palette, not just like a box of crayons kind of thing, this is a good option. If you can find this, it really is beautiful and the performance is really lovely. In the number 7 spot,
Ooh, witchy woman.
the Haunted Europe palette. I love spooky things. I love Halloween and spooky and haunted themed makeup releases. So I really do love this. We'll do a zoom in on this in a little bit as well. This has a fun like lenticular cover. And from where I'm sitting, I don't know if you can see the shift, but we'll zoom in and look at it. But it's a really fun, again, kind of a twist on a rainbow palette. And so here you can see that, again, we've got kind of the rough basics of a rainbow palette. We could do a kind of muted, grungy rainbow, but it's not just your Crayola, Roy G. Biv kind of situation. They're a little bit darker. They're a little bit more muted. There's some really beautiful, rich shimmers in this. Now, the only thing that I could say as a little bit of a detraction from the color story is that there aren't a lot of really light shades. So like this is fairly light. You could maybe use that as an inner corner highlight. But in terms of if you like that bright pop in the inner corner, there's not a lot here that you can do. The gold you could maybe do. These two are kind of similar, but it is a really beautiful color story. And I love that it's rainbow, but not. It's definitely much more of that muted, grungy kind of color story. And I love that it's spooky. I love that there are tombstones and bats and spider webs and all kinds of things pressed into the pans. So this was a Halloween release. I believe it's still available, maybe not. You'll have to check the website for all of these, or maybe I'll try to link it down below. But I think that if this is not still there, I hope they bring it back because this is a lot of fun. In the number 6 spot, if you like yellow, the other yellows that we saw were fine. These are great. And this is the Cartagena Magica palette. Now, I looked this up. I talked about this in a previous video. And I looked it up and Google told me it's Cartagena. And I don't know if that's true. Just let me live. Pronunciations, world language, not my strong suit. But this Cartagena Magica palette is a beautiful collection of oranges, pinks, and yellows. So here you can see we get some really beautiful pink, reddish kind of tones moving into orange, these blood orange, and then more peachy tones, and yellows. I love this. These yellows are really lovely, and they have a little bit more vibrancy than a lot of the other yellows that we've seen up to this point. So we're starting to get a little bit more vibrancy, a little bit more oomph in our color. So I love this one. It's a lot of fun. They recently had it on sale. It was part of a sale on their site. I don't know if that means that it's going away, but if you like yellows, these yellows are really beautiful, and the rest of the shades in here are all really gorgeous, and they blend together beautifully. You could do almost like a sunset eye. I know usually when people do sunset eyes, they include that deep purple to kind of bring in some depth, and you would have to bring in another palette for that. But the rest of these colors, this pink into orange into yellow, it's just a fruit punch dream. It's so gorgeous. So this is definitely a wonderful palette. Travel to magical Cartagena. I don't think that's how you say it, but that's what Google told me. In the number 5 spot, it's the early 2000s. Someone call Gwen Stefani, because my number 5 palette is the Tokyo Harajuku palette. This is a great palette for pastel lovers. If you love pastels, light, bright shades, this is going to be really gorgeous. And it's actually a little bit more versatile than a lot of people think. So when you see this, there's a lot of light, bright shades, but a lot of these pastels have some depth to them. So they're not all super, super light and bright. And even a couple of the shimmers, these purple and violet shimmers, are a little bit deeper in tone. And you do have these kind of charcoal gray and lighter gray shades that you can use to deepen it up. And when you're deepening a pastel, you don't necessarily need black. If you add black to this pale yellow, you're gonna get a mess. But you can keep it pastel and still add a little bit of depth with that light charcoal kind of shade. So I actually think that this is much more nuanced and much more versatile than people give it credit for. And these shimmers with the glitter are so fun. There's little duochromatic moments. This shade, Moshi Moshi, is like a green, but it's got pink glitter. And so it's not necessarily a shift, but the glitter itself has a color that's different from the base color. And so it's just really gorgeous. I think this is a lot of fun. If you're a pastel lover and you've been nervous about pastels, or maybe pastels look a little bit chalky on you, maybe you've got a deeper skin tone, I would suggest giving this one a try because these are very pigmented and there's more of a range in the colors. It's not all just pastel, chalky, light colors. It's pastels that have a bit more vibrancy, a bit more pigment, and just a little bit more punch. In the number 4 spot, shouldn't we get those kids a babysitter before they do something crazy? It's the Verona Amor Immorte palette. Again, French is not where I shine. And this is a fun Romeo and Juliet inspired palette. And there's 2 sides to it. I love the packaging. It's got this kind of holographic, shiny finish on it. And I love that it opens down the center instead of your typical book cover that we have. It's almost like 2 little 9-pan palettes in one. So the Amore side, this is the red side, and this is just a beautiful collection of reds and pinks. And so you get a really monochromatic, if you want to do anything pink, red, you can do it. It doesn't go super, super dark, but we do get this shade right here, Quill, that is kind of a maroon. But you get a full range of pink, red, berry kind of shades that you can do all different kinds of romantic, feminine, beautiful pink and red looks. Now the Morte side is where things get dark. So this one has a little bit more of a blue cast. There's this dark kind of charcoal gray. There's a couple pops of like dirty gold that I really love. And so if that Quill shade on the pink side wasn't deep enough for you to deepen up your red or pink look, you can use this shade. You could bring in one of these purples. You could even mix in some blue and create your own purple, or just put blue on the edge and buff it up to it so that you get that blue color. And these all together, I think the pink red by itself, if it was just a 9-pan palette, it might be a little bit too much for me. I don't know. There are a lot of differences. There's a lot of variety, but this might be a little too much red pink without anything to contrast it. So I love that then there's this other 9-pan right up here that brings in some real dimension and some interesting options to this overall color story. And this shade right here, Romeo, is this beautiful duochrome pink. It is so gorgeous. I love this palette. This is one of their newer releases. And sometimes I look and I'm like, oh, okay, that's kind of fun. And as you can see, I usually end up picking it up at some point. But this is one that I saw and I was like, no, I gotta pick that up right away. That's a good one. This is so beautiful. This is the Verona palette. Can we also take a second and talk about the fact that Romeo and Juliet is not a love story? As a former English major, I have to get this off my chest because everybody cites it as like the epic love story. And I love that now there's that new show, Rosalind, that is taking on that character, because Romeo was super in love with Rosalind and then all of a sudden turned around and there was Juliet and is like, I love Juliet. There's never been anybody but Juliet. These are just horny 13-year-old kids. They're trying to fuck everybody. They just got hormones racing through their bodies and nobody was watching them. And they did bad things, and it ended tragically, and it's not a love story. It's a warning to parents about how stupid your children are, so stop fighting your petty little feuds and pay attention to your damn kids. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. In the number 3 spot, it takes a queen to know a queen. The Royal Europe palette. This is gorgeous. This is one of their newest releases. I absolutely love this, and you maybe can see that my fingers are dirty. We're gonna swatch in just a second here, but I love this. I know. Earlier I said that I prefer to have it leaning more shimmer heavy than matte heavy, but this one I think is actually really smart because this is a great palette for somebody who is interested in dipping their toes into multi-chromes. Because we have 2 rows here, so we have 15 shades overall in the palette. 10 of them are mattes, only a third of them are shimmers, but we have these 2 rows of mattes, and then we have a row of multi-chromes. So these are beautiful. And with multi-chromes, it's easy to get overwhelmed. It's easy to take them too far, try to put too much, and things are not blending and matching, and it's just, it can be a lot. It can be overwhelming. A lot of people are intimidated by multi-chromes. This palette makes it super, super easy because in each of these vertical rows, you've got a little 3 eyeshadow look that's simple and easy to do. All you have to do is take this lighter shade that's in the top row through the crease, use the darker shade to darken the outer V, and put the multi-chrome on the lid. These multi-chromes, you can match them with other ones in the palette. You don't have to stick to those rows. There's ways to work them together, but it makes it really easy. If you just want to use this row, then this will match with these 2 shades, this matches with these 2, etc. It's really easy to follow, and it's really good for people who are just getting to know multi-chromes. And I'm in that camp. I'm not trying to say that I'm an expert at multi-chromes. I still struggle, and sometimes I put them on and they don't look right because I haven't matched them very well. Being able to just use a row, and it's kind of a no-brainer, so good. I love that. And I just wanted to show you these multi-chromes because I don't think that they're the best multi-chromes I've ever seen, but I think they are good, solid multi-chromes. And for being in a palette that's only $60 and you get 5 shades plus 10 other matte shades that coordinate with them perfectly, I think it's a really good deal. In the number 2 spot, we have the Cloud Forest palette. This is from Costa Rica, and I've been to Costa Rica a couple times, and both of the trips were very short. They were work trips, and there is a sloth sanctuary in Costa Rica, but it's about 4 hours away from the site where I was working, and because I was only there for a week each time, I didn't get to go pet the sloths, and I'm very sad about it, and I'm going to be sad about it forever. And we don't have to talk about it, and it's fine, but I love sloths. They are so cute. I love them. I have talked about this palette before, and I love this. I love that it's like half green, and then there are these bright neon mattes. So if you just want to play with the green-blue shades, there's lots of options, and you can get lots of swampy, green, poison ivy, mermaidy, witch from the forest kind of looks with this, with the greens. But if you want these pops of bright neon color, that's kind of like the flora in a jungle or in a rainforest, you get these beautiful colors, and you could do a rainbow neon look with this. You could ignore the green altogether and just do a rainbow neon look. I mean, how great is that? I love this. I think this is so beautiful. These neons perform pretty well. Neons are tough to do. They have a lot of white pigment to give them that brightness and that impact, and these really are very good examples of neon shadows. So I love this. I love greens, and I love when people pair greens with unexpected things. So this is absolutely a wonderful, wonderful palette. It was so hard to choose between number 2 and number 1, and this could just as easily, depending on my day, my mood, how much caffeine I've had, this could easily end up in the number 1 spot as well. But it wasn't in the number 1 spot, Blanche, was it? In the number 1 spot, we have the Paradise Islands palette. This one is so good, and I love the Cloud Forest. I love that green with the neons, but when you see in here, I think you're going to understand why. This palette also has some beautiful greens. So there's some green shades in this palette as well, and there's a couple limey greens, but there's also these pinks. It's just a bright pastel, not quite neon, not quite pale pastel. I love things that are right in that middle space between where things become neon or where things become pastels. That kind of really bright, vivid, but still light colors. And there are some beautiful shimmers in here that have some really lovely sparkle to them. There's some interesting shifts that we have. This shade Ocean is like a deep cornflower blue, but it's got some interesting like pink in it. It's so beautiful. And so this and the Cloud Forest really were neck and neck. Any day of the week, it could be either one of them. But for today, we had to make a decision. I'm a Capricorn. I had to set boundaries. And so you know what? Today, it's the Paradise Island palette in number 1. But you are, Blanche. You are in that chair. Sorry, had a little whatever happened to Baby Jane flashback. All right, so that is the video. Let me know down below what you thought of my ranking. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Are there other palettes from the brand that you have that I don't have on my list that you think I should try? Anything that you want to tell me about the brand? I know some people didn't love the Christmas palette that came out this last year. Some of them I haven't played with a lot, but I've really loved the formula. I've really loved the experience, the application, and I haven't seen a lot of inconsistency, but like I said, I don't own every single one of the palettes. So if there's anything that you think I should know about this brand, let me know down in the comments. Also, let me know if there's any other brands that you would like to see enter the Makeup Thunderdome. While you're down there leaving me that comment, don't forget to give me that thumbs up to let me know that you appreciate the video. Or if you hate my choices, if you are a Hudson Valley girly all day long, and you are tired of my neon colorful ass getting all up on your feed and telling you should like bright colors, then give me that thumbs down. That's fine. It's It's okay. I'm not going to judge you, baby. I will take it. It's all engagement. The algorithm isn't a picky bitch, and neither am I. While you're down there, don't forget to also hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to hit the bell icon and tell them you want to know about all videos. I try to make sure that I have at least one video a week for you, and sometimes, if you're really lucky, you might even get a bonus video. Ooh, unexpected. If you'd like to chat, banter, or commiserate between uploads, all of my social media will be linked down in the description box below, including a link to my website, The World of Champagne at JanessaJ.com. Thank you so much for watching. I love and appreciate all of you. I love these trips to the Makeup Thunderdome. I hope you do too. I love to rank, a bitch loves to judge. So I had a good time, and I hope you did as well. And until I see you again, bye. Number 10! The herbs de Provence. That's not right. That's what you cook with. The fête de Provence. That's what it is. I was like, wait a minute, that's not right. Making noise over there.
Someone sent me a message.
I am aware. And the world is aware.
The whole world that watches your channel.
That's right. The 5s of 10s of people who watch my channel.
Fine, I will put it on nothing at all then.
That's right. If you're staring at it, you should see the message come in.
Let me call your phone and see if it's off.
Probably not.
Yeah, that's right. I'm going to call you right now. You're going to get to it before I do. You're going to get it. You bitch.
That are kind of like the fauna. No, fauna is animals.